I'm about to say one of the scariest and I think most exciting words in business. Are you ready? Creativity. You see, when you spend quality time thinking differently about your business, amazing things happen, the least of which is that you create a solid point of difference. And who doesn't want one of them? But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from one of Sydney's leading new restaurateurs for whom creativity is his absolute superpower. It's a scary episode 619 of the 13-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Tim Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of highly creative marketing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing ideas that help businesses just like yours, to grow. I do that through weekly in-depth conversations with successful business founders, and I've been doing it for 13 years. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner, ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. As per usual, team, there's marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Hey, firstly, a very big welcome back, and I wish you the most successful of years ahead of you. Whatever you do in your business, with your marketing, in your personal life, may you do it with a smile on your dial. May it bring you much joy, much happiness, and much success. To help do that, I have got some very big guests in store for you this year. I've already told you who we've got coming up very shortly. Next week, we actually have a really in-depth chat about ChatGPT, that new AI writing software that everyone's talking about. And I have that chat with world-leading SEO expert Harry Sanders, who's got a thing or two to say about it. But boy, oh boy, isn't it taking the world by storm. And a big thank you to the 148 of you who responded to my question by email asking, what more do you want from me? Had a very high open rate, that subject line, which you can expect it would. I think it was like 43%. I'm very grateful for that. That's to all those people who subscribe over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and are on my email list. They had the opportunity to reply to that question. Now, like I said, what more do you want from me? And it was a little questionnaire, basically with a number of options saying, hey, what else can I do for you to improve your marketing? Things like an Ask Me Anything monthly webinar, ad-free episodes, one-on-one coaching sessions, step-by-step worksheets on particular marketing ideas. Even one idea was guided meditations, webinars with past guests. I had a whole lot of options. The findings are in. I'll share them with you next week. But your responses have convinced me that I need to start a Patreon account, which is going to enable me to provide exclusive content to those of you who are super serious about their marketing. And I know that's you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. But it's going to be a membership-based site. I'm going to be using the Patreon platform, which basically is a platform that enables creators to get paid for the work they do. It's a wonderful service, been around for years and years. I've been umming and ahhing about it and thinking, you know what? It's time. I want to give you more content. I want it to be exclusive content that can't be found anywhere else. And that questionnaire that many of you answered has helped me put that together. So I'm working on it now. And I aim to share the details and will enable you to join in the coming weeks, in the next week or two, I hope. Righto, let's get stuck in to today's guest. Okay, a quick rant about creativity. Now, having spent the first half of my career in the account service department of large advertising agencies, looking after brands like Gillette, Yellow Pages, Dulux, Mercedes-Benz, I quickly learned about the power of creative thinking, about the power a big idea can have on a business's growth and subsequent success. In fact, sitting at the top of every client invoice was a cost center titled Concept Development. This was the amount the client paid for their creative team to sit around and come up with ideas in response to a creative brief. And despite working in agencies where there were entire floors dedicated to creative folk, art directors, copywriters, graphic designers, I also learned that every single one of us, including you, is creative. You don't need to be in the arts to be creative, my friend. It's within us all. Whether you're an accountant, a builder, or maybe you run an e-commerce store, you just need to find the time regularly to think differently about all aspects of your business. How you market it, how you employ, how you entertain clients, how you manage your finances. Make this part of how you do business and you'll be in the successful minority of business owners who've cracked the creative code to standing out from the crowd and creating a business people love to deal with. Now, entrepreneur Howin Chui is in this club. He's the quirky restaurateur behind Ni Hao Bar, Kowloon Cafe and Stir Fry King, very hip, very sought after Sydney-based eateries. And as Howin says in his own words, and I quote, the food world isn't just about the food quality. You need to create a feeling, a sensory experience. You need to think differently. He goes on to say, it's about your customers wanting to be a part of an experience they can talk about to their friends and share online, close quote. Now, Howin's slightly nervous at the start of this interview, but trust me when I say please persevere as he shares some absolute gold about his respect for creativity in business, how he goes about it, and what it's done for his personal brand and the businesses that he owns. And just when you think he's got nothing more to share, near the end, he shares his next business venture, which I think is absolutely genius. Don't skip to the end because you need to hear what he's doing now in order to understand just how genius his next big idea is. Let's go and meet Howin. Howin, there's no shortage of places to eat in Sydney, and there seems to be restaurants and cafes closing every other day, COVID or no COVID. So what gap did you see in the Sydney restaurant market, number one, and what made you think you could successfully fill it with not one, but 4 restaurants?
Well, the concept of my restaurant has been kind of a missing piece of a puzzle that we have found. Obviously, that was pre-COVID. We are kind of lucky and not lucky. We got the taste of non-COVID for 3 months. So Kowloon Cafe officially opened on November 2019.
Wow.
So we actually got a little bit of a taste of non-COVID, which then obviously during that time built our brand and the awareness of our branding and the awareness of the food. So as I said, the missing piece of this is because Hong Kong food, Hong Kong Cafe plays a big part of Hong Kong food. And throughout the years when Chinatown is inserted into a country, the food that everyone, Westerners or anyone that are non-Chinese, gets to eat is Cantonese food first, because those were the people that were migrating to overseas, like in America and Canada, in Australia. So Cantonese food was the first impression for everyone's Chinese food. Because of the growth of China the last 20 years, and obviously the population of Chinese immigrants coming over to different countries, the overlapping of these businesses or overshadowing of these businesses has covered a lot of these Cantonese restaurants, including Hong Kong cafes. So during that time, I saw that, hey, I wanted to get a feed from a Hong Kong cafe or Hong Kong Cantonese food. Where should I get it? There's a lot that closed. There's a lot that didn't survive. And there's a lot of hot pots opening. Obviously, Chinese food, there's so many different types of Chinese food. There is a new genre of food where I call it new genre food, which is like the bubble teas, the fried chickens. And they're all opening as well. But they don't really represent our culture, and especially Chinatown. And with the passion and love for that, I was like, okay, we should do something like that. And I've been talking about that for a few years until I met a few of my friends in 2019, where we spent a lot more time together because they're now my partners. One of them was getting married, and then we were traveling to China and Hong Kong together. And we were like, why don't we have this in Sydney? why don't we have this vibe here? Not just the food we're talking about, the vibe, the decoration, the renovation. And one of my partners is fit out. He does his fit out. He does fit outs for his main business. And obviously for myself, I'm more of a marketing guy where I've been doing my nightclubs, the PR, and all that stuff. And one of my other partners is more in the operational side.
Oh, what a perfect mix.
Perfect match, yeah. And then, and one of our other friends that we hired during that time, that he's been working in a lot of restaurants, he's a good chef. And then we're like, okay, the timing was so perfect. Everyone wanted to do this. And then we gave my architect a call, which he's been working alongside with me for a long, long time. And he knows what I want because we've been working on a few projects together. And within 3 days, he found a really good site, which is the Chinatown Haymarket site. We looked at it and straight away we can visualize everything. It was like a street view. You can see the street vibe. I can already listening. I'll be pumping the Chinese music, Hong Kong music. I can see those little areas where people sit down and have their meals. And it's right smack bang in the middle of Chinatown. And we're opposite one of the most long-lasting restaurants in Chinatown right now. I think they've been opening for 30 years. So that's an iconic place. Like, I can tell people where it is straight away. Without hesitation, they'll go, oh, I know where it is. So for us to promote, obviously going back to the marketing, the 4 Ps, obviously place, location is really vital, right?
I've got a bit of a theory on that with restaurants and cafes. It's a principle. I don't know whether it actually has a name, but it would appear to me the better the location, the restaurant, the worse the food. And it so often happens because, and my thinking behind it is the restaurateur doesn't need to work hard because the location has got so much traffic and is so well known that they know that people are just going to keep coming and coming. They might not come back. There'll be enough people to just come once to keep the restaurant open. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's definitely for other countries, but not Sydney or Australia. Sydney, obviously, Australia's been a much bigger country. Location is prime already, but people are willing to travel. Like, I've got friends that, like, back in the days, we were willing to travel for Krispy Kreme, remember? People went all the way for a donut.
Madness.
Yeah. Traveling was not something that is in the Australian book of going to grab some food because it is an experience. People want to go there. Like, I travel to Bankstown for a bowl of pho because I know that that's the best. I travel to different places for different cuisine, like Japanese food is obviously up north.
And I think that's my point. I live up on the Sunshine Coast near Noosa, and there's a restaurant there, a modern Asian restaurant called Some Young Guys. I don't know whether you've heard about it, but hugely popular. A couple of the guys who own it are ex-Master Chef winners. Now, my point there is it is actually in a really nondescript location. It's in a terrible location. There's no foot traffic. You have to drive there. But because the food is so good and the whole experience is so good, it doesn't matter where it is. It could be in an industrial estate and people would go.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think that playbook works, but the efficiency might not be as crazy in other countries because Sydney, as I said, people are willing to travel. They want to travel to a particular place to eat that particular food. As I said, like Krispy Kreme is the best one. You go all the way for one donut, you know?
Yeah. Mate, I used to, when Krispy Kreme came out and the only place you could get them was at Sydney Airport, at the time I was living in Melbourne, I would actually ask the taxi driver, this is embarrassing, and this is why I probably put on 30 kilograms when I shouldn't have, but I'd get the cab driver to stop just before the airport at the Krispy Kreme shop. And then I'd be, half the plane would have boxes of Krispy Kremes going home. It was an incredible marketing case study.
It is. Like, I was shocked when people actually traveled like an hour drive for it. So, yeah, it's a very, very different market in Australia, I guess. Very, very different.
So you sort of had this perfect storm, Howin, where you've got the marketing experience from your nightclub days and promotional days. You've got a mate who's great at operations. You've got a mate who's great at fit out. And you've got a chef. Was it then, at that point, was it a no-brainer? I'm always interested in when an idea becomes more than an idea. And
actually, it became of a bigger brainer for us because obviously, number one, we have to make sure when people talk about businesses, having one partner is already a little bit of a headache. Now that you've got a few more partners, luckily, as I said, the most important part, we've got the same vision. We know that, hey, we want to make this successful. That's number one, which is great. So there was less argument towards it. And then you have to work with no ego as well, because some people might think, oh, okay, hey, mate, I've worked in a kitchen before. I've operated a hospitality restaurant before.
I've
So
got
you should be
this.
listening to me. Yeah. But luckily we have that chemistry and it mixed well. Like, obviously we had a few not big fights, but arguments. And then we got more like, because it's really funny when things are more successful, more people want to get involved.
Funny that.
So at the beginning, and all these all our girlfriends and wives started want to get involved as well, so which was great. Like everyone's like, we had a huge team. Like we didn't even need any staff if we have any staff. Well, back then there was no staffing problem, but we didn't need any extra staff because we had a big team already. Everyone was willing to help, and it was so good because it was so fun because we built something successful together.
How do you manage it, to me, just in hearing you describe it, the people coming together, the success you had, the locations that you were finding, clearly there is just this very natural excitement that was surrounding you and everyone wanted in and this is amazing. At the end of the day, though, this is business and I'm sure you're putting a fair bit of dough on the line. It's not proven, despite the experience each of you have. It's not proven. How do you keep a grip on that excitement, which is good and bad? It drives you forward, but it can also colour your vision, and say to the key players, maybe having a difficult conversation, hey guys, we've all got to pull our heads in here and there's a commercial reality. Was that a discussion or was that just a sort of a given?
At the beginning, it was a lot of discussion. And then once you've connected, like you've got a brand new TV, once you've connected all the cords, it will run itself, right? So that's when okay, cool, at the beginning, cool, I'm plugging you in here and you're plugging in here. So I'm not going to go over the top of what you need to do, like especially for the chef part. And then I never do the operational part. But I would say something and go, hey, someone has mentored me and given us some ideas. I'll put this here. If you guys want it, we can talk about it. And the good thing is, I think that's why I said between my partners, we have had a really good chemistry because we were friends first. And a lot of times when friends do business, they get into a really big arguments more because there's emotions towards it. But for some reason, we actually had a good mix. We had a lot of head banging moments, but once we get to that and we know, hey, okay, cool, you can solve that, then I'm not going to interfere. But it took us a year to drive through it. But the thing is, before we actually have to go through all that, we hit COVID already. So there was a bigger enemy to fight, and it's us against the world, So that's why I think it was so much easier for us to blend in because, hey, we saw the success. We know this is a successful product, but now everyone is facing the same problem. How do we fight that? So that's why I think COVID has made us a bigger person and make the team greater.
Wow. I mean, to hear that from a restaurateur, I mean, there are some industries, I was talking to a mate this morning about this, there are some industries that have absolutely benefited from COVID, and there are other industries like hospitality that's really suffered. But to hear from a Sydney restaurateur like yourself to say that, oh, you didn't say it was a blessing, but it certainly pulled you together and tightened things up, and you've got through it. I want to explore that a bit more, but I think what we need to do, Howin, for those who haven't been to your now 4 restaurants, Kowloon Cafe, Nihao Bar, can you just explain? Because this is an audio medium, not visual. Can you explain what we're talking about? What if I was to go to one of your restaurants?
So Kowloon Cafe is a Hong Kong style cafe. Obviously, Hong Kong has been invaded and run by the UK for the last 100 years. After 1997, China took it back. During that time, food, there's a lot of Westerners, a lot of European expats, people that works there. And in order to adapt to it, there was a lot of Western restaurants as well. And obviously, when the Chinese see it as well, they want to try it as well. But obviously, during that time, it's very expensive. It's like fine dining. So the Hong Kong people wanted to adapt to these people as well. So they make their own menu, which is a West, East, the meat, East, meat, the East menu. Like you've got a lot of fun. Like we've got our own spaghetti bolognese, which is a lot more sweeter. We've got all these little bread style dishes. We've got a lot of like we've got macaroni like in soup, and then it's a lot of these are Westerners food. And then they even have steaks as well. Like they put it on like a little sizzling thing, and then it's a full like steak meal as well.
You even got cheeseburger spring rolls that caught my attention.
Yeah, that's from Ni Hao Bar. So Ni Hao Bar is a little bit of a different kind of project, but I'm still focusing on my culture, which is Hong Kong. Because Hong Kong, I can say Hong Kong is the current Singapore and even better. Because number one, Hong Kong was more a westernized colony. We adapt to English music a lot faster. Fashion, music, movies. We were the eye of the dragon where every Asian country was looking at. China was watching our movies, listening to Cantonese songs. Vietnam, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, all these countries, they watch our television, and they have translated to their own language. TVB was really big. It was like the centralized of Asia. So I've always wanted to use that golden years. Obviously, you've got big names like Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan. You know, all these guys are from Hong Kong. So that's why I want to use that golden years of Hong Kong to promote the nightlife. And nightlife in Hong Kong was always amazing. Clubbing has its own district. It was it's similar to the Cross, but a lot more elegant and prime location. So where they call it LKF, Lan Kwai Fong, where they have all the sexiest nightclubs, bars, restaurants. And I wanted to bring that vibe into a bar. And that bar that I have in Ni Hao Bar is located prime location, which is next to World Square. Inside Civic Hotel, there's a little smoking rooftop as well. 8 years ago, I used to run a nightclub there. And then after I ran Kowloon Cafe, the landlord, the owner, spoke to me and go, Howin, did you guys want to come back and do something for not just a nightclub, but F&B product? And then I always had this, I want to do a bar where people can come and chill. I want to have really good food, a little bit of fusion, and amazing renovation. So I even put a full DJ booth in the middle, like a stage. It's made out of, the DJ booth made out of like a fake jade thing. So it looks really old school. And then you've got outside, I've got all these Bruce Lee stuff. I've got the Lucky Cat. Everywhere you go, there's decorations.
I'm looking at the Instagram now for Ni Hao Bar, which is what you're talking about. It's absolutely beautiful. I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, it makes you very hungry just looking at the food. But it's not just the food. What I notice about just talking to you and these beautiful posters with Bruce Lee illustrations and all this kind of, you're very, very big on experience. You're very big on customer experience. And I reckon this is a spot where so many businesses, no matter what their industry, I don't care if they're an accountant, I don't care whether they're a chiropractor, a builder, whatever they are, they don't put enough thought, if any, into customer experience. I guess it's easy for a restaurant because it's all about theatre and drama and you know, light and shade. But talk to me about customer experience. What does it mean to you, and how do you bring it to life?
For me, I love to go eat. So on weekends, I like to go to brunches. I like to go to all these restaurants. And when I go there, I want to see what makes me remember this place straight away. And from experience, presentation of the food, renovation of the venue, and the theming. If the thing, like for example, I go to one of those best, obviously, top brunches, obviously, is going to be grounds of Alexandria, and then they've got the grounds in Sydney, right? So their whole theme, like potting shed, is also part of it. When you walk in there and you go to the toilet, that's one of the things I see. Every time, even when you spend money and decoration in a toilet, that means that restaurant steaming is right. I go in there and it feels like a shed, but they did it. They did it on purpose. Everything was done on purpose. Even, for example, Marigold, obviously they're the top dogs. You go to Mr. Wong, you go to the toilets, they're like, wow.
Can I just have a quick discussion with you? And I want to keep talking about customer experience, and this is part of it. Restaurant toilets, to me, this is the last 1%. This is the last meter that is forgotten. And people think, oh, it won't matter. But personally, and I don't think I'm alone here, if a restaurant cares about its toilets, then it's a good restaurant. You know, how many restaurants do you go to where it's just a fess pit? And it's like, everyone who goes to a restaurant is going to go to the toilet, right? So it's like, at least do something, make something nice, make it part of the experience.
So yeah, that's exactly what we did as well for our toilets. So we wrapped the toilets into a really cool Chinese vintage toilet. We've had lights. We put like 100 light bulbs around the mirror. So when the females go when they leave the toilet, they can use it. And we also have these funny posters. When you're actually sitting down using the cubicle, you can see it as well. These little things actually brought me a lot of attention. And especially in the world of social media right now, people just like to take stories or photo of it. It's just funny how the whole thing, and that's why, yeah, as I said, after going to all these restaurants and seeing exactly what you said, if you can even put that extra money and extra effort into the toilet, that makes the whole place different. And then you go to the to details, your chopsticks, your glasses. We have a big thing, our teapot shots. Everyone looks at it and go, wow. And then we're like, how can we even make it better? Let's make it steam. So we even have to put dry ice in it to make the whole thing. Like, I just don't want to put it on the table and it's just something simple that you can get it anywhere. But it's steaming and people take videos of it. And then it's free marketing. It's free marketing. I spend a little bit more here, but everyone will take a photo. So I think that's the customer experience that we're talking about. I want to add that little taste to it.
Do you think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it would appear to me that to create a great customer experience doesn't necessarily need to cost a whole lot more than having a really bad customer experience or not one at all. It's just these little tweaks. A bit of dry ice in the tea, we're talking cents, you know, but everyone's now taking a photo of it and you're getting thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of social media exposure.
Exactly. And for me, it's like, obviously our food is up to a greater standard right now after 2 years of experimenting, but at the beginning, my food might not be the right fit to the renovations that time, or my plating might not be really related to it, but it might be a 6 out of 10. Then because of this and that, you'll be an 8 out of 10. But now that my food is an 8 out of 10 and all this other stuff, I can get to it, I can give a 10 out of 10 experience. Even though sometimes, yeah, there might be little bits and pieces that go bad, but yeah, at least we can try our part to make it sure the taste is right, the vibe is right, and the looks is right.
What do you think? It sort of seems like a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you think customer experience is more important than the food output, or is the food more important than the customer experience? Could you run a great restaurant with I know it's both, but can you weight it?
Right now, in this society, yes, you can, I guess, because, as I said, you can have average food, but other things can make up to it. I would go to a restaurant that some people, like, it really depends, like, on the mood as well. Like, if I want really good food, I can go to Chinatown, and there's a lot of restaurant that has no customer service, right? But they know that food just hits the spot. But obviously, it depends. If it's by myself, I can do that. But if it's with a group of people, obviously, I want to have a good experience as well. So it really depends on what you want that day. You know, like if it's only for the food, then okay, cool. You can go there, eat, and leave. But if it's going to be with a group of people, the experience is very important.
I've read something you said recently, and you said, I like to create a story with each business. Now, we've spoken a bit about that, I suppose, in the sense that the Hong Kong heritage and how it all comes together. But I'm interested to know your process for creating that story. Do you literally sit down and write the story? Do you get an illustrator to capture ideas that you have? Because I think every business should tell their story. It's another way of getting emotionally engaged customers.
We like to do whiteboard sessions and we just chuck a bunch of stuff on it. Because the good thing about this is obviously is because of my nightclub background, and nightclubs, you have to be creative every week. Like we have flyers designed every week. So I have to look through and go, I like these flyers, I like this and that, and put it together. And then we have themes. So every time it's just drawing a storyboard. And then you just whack a bunch of stuff on it and you put it together, which is the fun part. For me, it's the fun part because we get to brainstorm stuff. Obviously, when it goes to execution, not everything goes through, but at least we got something, you know? And that's the really fun part for me because sometimes you cannot think that it's going to happen. But for example, we opened our second shop in Burwood and we wanted to put a bus in there. And people were like, are you stupid? You're going to buy it and then you're going to chop it in half and put it as a bar? And then me and my partner, I looked at my partner and go, as a doorbell, he goes, yeah, it's all about money. We want to spend that money in space. And I'm like, I want it. I want to have that. So we put that bus in there. We bought a bus, we chopped it, and we bought all these little things that it represent the Hong Kong buses from Hong Kong, in Hong Kong. We got it delivered here, and then we wrapped the whole bus, we chopped it in half, put it in there, and now it's the bar. You can see it. People, every person went to Bill was like, wow, you guys actually did that. And now our third proper restaurant in Eastwood, we're going to be putting a tramp there, a Hong Kong tramp.
Right.
A 2-decker. So that's my front door. And then now we've got the attention of the Hong Kong tramps, the official guys from Hong Kong tramps. They said, oh, wow, I'm so happy that you guys are bringing the Hong Kong culture to other countries. We're willing to donate all these things. So they're willing to donate a signage. The guys that have been writing the signage for the Hong Kong tramps, he might be coming over for my grand opening to do the side. Yeah, we're still talking in talks now. So that grabbed the attention of Hong Kong government and even all these Hong Kong association go, wow, you guys are not just promoting your business. You're promoting the Hong Kong culture. Like, that's why we're like really happy about it as well, because people actually admire what we're doing. And as I said, like, it made the bus made me lose around 10 to 15 seats. And we spent a lot more money onto it.
How much? How much?
The bus itself, we bought it here. So we had to chop it. It was like 25K to buy the bus. And then we had to sell the engine back to someone that wanted it. We thought we were going to sell it, but at the end, we had to give it away because it was so heavy. And I'm like when we talked about it, I was like, oh, okay, it's not that bad because we buy it, we can sell the engine, or we can sell parts. And then when we went to selling, no one could sell anything. And then we had to beg people to buy it. But at the end of the day, I think it's worth it.
Tell me about this. Retrospection is wonderful. Hindsight is wonderful. You didn't know at the time when you had this crazy idea of buying a bus, cutting it in half, turning it into a bar, putting 15 seats in it. It sounded very exciting.
No, taking 15 seats out. Yeah, taking 15 seats out. So, yeah, out of the restaurant.
But at that point in time, Howin, you didn't know that you were going to get the support of the Hong Kong government, the bus industry, the sign writer. You didn't know any of that was going to happen. It has. So what I'm interested in is business courage, the courage to say, okay, that idea sounds crazy, but commercially, I believe it's going to work, despite the fact that it's going to cost us 50 grand, whatever it ended up costing after you bought the bus, cut it in half and decked it out. So tell me about business courage. Is it something that, are you just winging off the seat of your pants type of guy and go, no, that feels right, I'm going to do it? Do you research it?
I like to share, so I like to ask a lot of. I like to show my friends. Like once I have a crazy idea, or once we have a crazy idea, I like to start talking to people. And some people go, don't talk to people about it. Don't share these ideas, or people take it. Like, seriously, I've got these restaurants opening soon, so that's why I can do it. I don't think someone's going to start buy a bus and open a restaurant. So I'm all for that, opening ideas and open-minded. If they take it, they take it. And it's not like something that no one has thought of. I saw that in Hong Kong, and that's why I wanted to do it. So there might be a million people that saw it, but they never thought they would do it. So that's why I like to share the ideas and get some feedback. So courage is not 100% courage, probably 50%, because I've already got some confidence from people when I show them, oh, is it going to be oh, wow, oh, what the hell is this? Like, I've already got that replies from people. So I think we're pretty sure then we do it, yeah. And obviously, yes, there has been a few stupid ideas that didn't work.
Tell us about an idea you had that you spent a decent amount of dough on that didn't work, and why didn't it work?
Not for this project, but for other projects I have had. But for Kowloon Cafe, we're very lucky that every element that we have put in, people liked it. For example, another one is our mahjong wall, which now is going to be our signature for every shop. I'm going to have a mahjong wall every shop. And the word that the mahjong wall has came out with, it's called fat. Fat is meaning lucky and rich.
P-H-A-T?
It should be F-A-R-T. The fact, yeah. It's like the green mahjong thing, yeah. So the Chinese word, yeah. So that has been a signature for all our shops now. So every shop you see in Chinatown, in Burwood, in Eastwood, you'll see that mahjong wall, which obviously represents us, kind of a thing.
And is that a way of bringing each of the individual restaurants together under sort of one brand name?
Correct. Because we have each shop, we've been trying to do different kind of what do you call it? Different kind of generate. Like the one in Chinatown is more of the 1960s, and then the one in Burwood is more like 1970s, 80s. Because obviously you've got the buses and the trams and all that. But obviously it's still talking about Hong Kong. Yeah, it looks like it's a mixture of everything, but yeah. It's we kind of theme it in between those timelines. But yeah, moving forward, I think we'll be opening smaller shops with less renovations, because now that we've got the brand, because like, to be honest, I've got my neighbors that came in later than me and they're already open. And people are like, why are you spending so much time and money and all that? I'm like, but the effort and the return has been crazy. So I'd rather spend that much time, because people are like, oh, you've already got the brand now, you should straight away open. But I want to make sure this shop is also like the other shops. I don't want to be a one-hit wonder. So I want to make sure, hey, people come in, they got the vibe, the entrance, everything looks like Kowloon Cafe. And I think that's the difference between us and others.
Yeah, okay. Well, you can do. I mean, you obviously got some cash flow to back that up. I mean, maybe your neighbour didn't have the cash flow and had to open up real quick. Hey?
No, we had bad problems. Just that we had good supporters.
Yeah, okay.
People believers. Yeah.
Well, I get the sense, even just talking to you for the last 35 minutes, I just have this sense that you're a little bit being around you would be contagious, despite the fact that you've actually just overcoming the flu right now. I don't mean contagious from that point of view, but I mean, I get it. You're one of those leaders. You're one of those business founders that I reckon people just would gravitate towards you and want to be around, because you're excited, you have ideas, you share your ideas, you bring people along for the ride. And that was actually my next question, which is, how do you get everyone on board? You've clearly got a lot of staff across the restaurants that you own, and it's easy to get people on board if you have equity. I'm assuming you don't have some profit sharing scheme. So how do you get your staff to buy in to your dream?
The first one is they're my friends, and they have seen kind of a successful story of what I've done for the last 10 years through my nightclubs. And obviously they believed in that. And very, very luckily and grateful that we went through COVID. And through COVID, people had obviously closed down a lot of shops. But because of COVID, we took the risk and it became an opportunity. The reason is why I said that is because the risk is us taking on more shops, but the opportunity is the cost of these rent releases is so much cheaper. It's so much cheaper. You can never get these leases before COVID.
Yeah, right.
And I'm talking about prime locations.
And this is because COVID wiped out a whole lot of restaurants. Landlords are under pressure, so the prices are dropping.
So that's why I said there is a risk for us, obviously, opening more shops. But in another way, there's an opportunity because our daily expenses will be much more smaller. And how do we make this team? Growing this team, obviously, I've lost some really good people. I've lost some friends alongside because of people thinking that they need to get a fair share as well. But at the end of the day, it's all about talking and communication. I think communication is the most important part. Back at the beginning, when I started doing nightclubs, there's a lot of egos. There's a lot of people that want the fame and the name. And we need to have a balance, right? You can't always be the spotlight. So I think I'm pretty good at that now, to giving people the spotlight as well. And I'm very grateful that my main partners, they have their own position. And for example, my partners will never do interviews. He goes, I can't do it. There's no way. And even when I ask them to take photos with me, it's like, okay. Well, once in a while they'll do it. So they'll go, okay, cool. Howin, you do the PR stuff. My other partner is really into the kitchen and the food. And I never get involved. I'll say something. I'll go, well, this today is pretty bad. What happened? That's the only things I'll say. And then he'll go and talk to the chefs and all that. So we know our own positions. And we grew it because we actually grew it with a lot of people. For example, my second shop, my chef was my new partner. He saw the potential. He knows that, hey, I have been in Chinatown for 20 years and I've never seen something like that before. And I'd love to work with you guys. And he goes, okay, cool. And then we found a second shop and we got him involved. And my third one is people that I've been working with on my other businesses. One of them is operational manager, which he's going to be my partner now. And he's amazing at operations. And I needed someone like that. So he's buying in. And I've got another guy which has worked with me, my colleague, my good friend, and he's an all-rounder. He knows a lot of people. And he goes, Howin, I want to be a part of it as well. I'm going, yeah, please. And then that's how our team grew because people are buying in. Because at the end of the day, I can't be at all my shops. To be honest, I haven't been to one of my shops for like 1 month. But when I started to become a partner or a part of a business, it's a totally different game. You used to, like, for example, when you go pack someone's takeaway, you'll throw like a bunch of chopsticks and spoons and everything in there. Now that I'm a partner, I know how much everything is. I go, how many people eating?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 people. Here's 2 sets. You know? Like these little things, you laugh.
Mate,
and
absolutely.
it's funny. But when it gets to that, and then we started doing stock take, and I started learning about stock take. And the stock take guy goes, you know, one thing, one of the biggest things that you can do you can't cut wages when you're at a bottleneck. One of the biggest things is wastage at a bar. So even for like getting a glass of beer, if they drop that many drops, it is equivalent to 1 beer after. So now that I've learned that, it's a totally different story. And another thing that I've learned from my mentor, one of my mentors, his name's Tyson, and he's a great guy. He taught me. He goes, when he came in, and he goes, he held $100, and he goes, in that meeting, we were doing a training for all the staff, and then we asked all the staff, you know, when we get $100, do you know how much your boss gets? Even for myself, at the beginning, I was like, let me calculate. Oh, yeah, 30% is tax, 35% is cost of goods. Now that wages are blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, we're up to 5%. And people will come up and go, $50, $80, $20. And then when we really calculate it, if it's a successful, healthy business, it's between $12 to $15. And people don't know it. You've got all these other stuff, like you don't even know, miscellaneous stuff. You've got your maintenance, you've got your lease, your rent, And you've got all these little things that you don't even calculate.
Here's a question, and it's the last question on my sheet, but I actually have more questions for you because I think you're fascinating. But my question to that, exactly what you were talking about. Let me read it out verbatim. Explain the economics of running businesses like you do. After rent, wages, cost of goods, interior design, etc., you need to sell a lot of cheeseburger-flavoured spring rolls to make a profit. I don't understand the economics of a business like yours. Can you please explain it?
At the moment, I don't even understand. Like, we are very lucky. Obviously, the good thing is Nihao Bar is more alcohol-orientated. And the alcohol part obviously will make you a little bit better money because you don't have to make sure it's cooked properly. There's less wastage. The stock can have a longer life. Like obviously seafood and all that, you don't have such a long life. You can't put it here as long. And I think with promotion for drinks, you don't have to go that crazy. So that's how you calculate the balance. Like.
Yeah, but even so, you've still got to sell a lot of spring rolls. Now, tell me, I know you've been crook, and I don't want to keep you talking, Howin, but thank you so much for your time. You mentioned you hadn't been in to any of your businesses for a month, which sounds wonderful.
No,
because
one of them.
You've been
one
into.
Of them.
Okay. So
I haven't been to one of the shops for a month.
One of the things I know about many of the business owners listening to this podcast is we're all control freaks. It just comes with being a business owner, a founder. We've given birth to something and now we want to control it. You clearly don't necessarily have that element of control or that need to constantly be there. How have you got to that space?
Number one is good apps with your cameras. So I have my mobile phone, which I can press 3 buttons to see all my shops. That's number one. Also, obviously, really trustworthy team. The good thing about my team is the one that haven't been to is in the build one. Is because my fiance's brother and sister works there, so I don't need to be there. Yeah, got it covered. And even my Chinatown one, my partner's always there. So
the lesson here is you are surrounding yourself with really good people, and again, it's because of the way it would appear that you approach business. Tell me, Howin, could you walk in or no, do you ever look around outside of the hospitality industry, outside of the nightclub industry? Do you ever look at other industries? You might walk past a shop or you might meet someone who's from a completely unrelated industry and think, gee, I could apply my skills around customer experience and around creating themes and stories to these industries. They're missing so much. Does that ever occur to you?
I think that's my next chapter, actually. Well, I'm actually from a sales background. I worked in Telstra and Vodafone business corporate sales for 8 years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then that was actually I enjoyed selling during that time. And what my next chapter I'm talking about is both my business partner, my mentor, and my parents are in real estate. And they've been telling me, like, I've been wasting my time. Like, you can sell a cheeseburger, spring roll, or you can sell a table at a nightclub, but why don't you sell a house? And with my database and my marketing, yeah, that's what we're doing. We are right now. This is my office for my nightclubs. I've got a new office downstairs, which is renovating right now. We'll be opening in 2 months. It's going to be a real estate agency, which is going to be more like a sales agency, marketing and sales agency. We already, without opening, we've already sold like 12 properties. We've built a team, obviously, because my partner is a developer and we have been rebranding and stuff. And right now, because of our database, people that have been clubbing with us for the last 10 years, we started talking to them. I started using LinkedIn now, and we started talking to a lot of people. Like, people go from your nightclubs to your restaurants, and now we can even sell you a house. And obviously, with this type of businesses, people like to talk to people that they know. And that's really important. And obviously, now we can actually give you a one-stop shop from entertainment to F&B.
That is genius. I'll have to share an interview with you once we hang up, but I interviewed a fellow it's 2 years ago now. His name was Peter Lorimer, and he was a record producer. He's produced 30 number one Billboard hits. The guy is a bit of a music legend, and like you, has a seriously good network, a black book full of great contacts, right? He had a breakdown in the music industry. The sex, drugs, and rock and roll got the better of him, and he left New York. He moved over to Beverly Hills and became a real estate agent, and now he is selling homes to musicians, to artists, to actors. So it's not a dissimilar story to what you've done.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, that's what you're trying to do.
I said, yeah, I think my business partner has already told me, hey, I don't want to waste what you're doing now. I don't want to waste your network. Like, people know your face. People know who you are. Now you've got successful businesses, and people like to work with people that they already know. So that's why we don't want to waste it. And we just did a big expo. It was our first one, and then it was really good because we did more of the event background stuff. We had people there. We were the best store.
What learnings? How are you going to create a customer experience like you have for Nihao Bar, Kowloon Cafe? How is that going to translate into walking into Howin Chui's real estate agent?
We are definitely looking into a lot more social media based things. We're going to make a young and fun team that is more approachable. We will be doing a lot of events-based stuff. So I want to educate, like for myself, I never learned about how to invest. I have been spending stupid money my last 10 years. I've just got my property. I've just got my own apartment 6 months ago. And then I start learning all these things about financial stuff. So I'm partnering with a lot of people. Like, I'm partnering with a lot of brokers so they can educate people on how to get your first saving for deposit. Like, these are the people that ran through what I went through, partying and then getting a decent job and then still partying. So instead of that, we need to educate them. Hey, chill down on your partying. You need to start saving or start investing into different things. And when they see it, they'll go, oh, okay, cool. They want to learn. Once they see people with successful stories, they want to learn about it as well. And that's how great social media right now is. Because with something easy, people are like, oh, wow, okay, cool. I want to learn from you. I want to see what you're doing. And obviously, event-based stuff, like I want to do like a lot of events on a monthly basis where we want to talk about our products as well. And then obviously utilize my restaurants. I'll have 7 restaurants by March. And I want to utilize my restaurants to wine and dine my customers. Even if they don't buy a property, they will come back to my restaurants.
It's so clever. I would never have thought, like you have completely crossed over to a totally unrelated industry, but you found a whole lot of connections between the hospitality industry and the real estate industry, and it actually makes perfect sense. I don't know how you're going to find any more hours in the day, but, that's your problem, not mine. One of the things, Howin, that you talked about is you've got a mentor. I don't think enough business owners have a mentor or a coach or someone that they can lean on for advice or to cry on their shoulder. How have you reached out for a mentor? Have they approached you? Do you pay them? Are they?
No, he's actually my boss. He's my boss. So he's my boss for 12 years. And he's also given me the opportunity to become his partner. And now he's one of a kind of a gentleman where he loves to actually help people move to the next level. Yeah, so I'm really grateful that I have him. As I said, he's backed me up in a lot of projects and also taught me. Like right now, we have the passion for nightclubs all the time. But when we sit down and have a really good talk, cool, we've done that. The name and fame, the girls, the drinks, the bling bling lifestyle. But you know what? If we get into this real estate business, you can have 100 times of that, because you sell a ticket, you get $5 commission. You sell a house, you get 2.5% of a house. It's a very different thing. Like, and for me, if I can sell all these people a dream for one night, we've sold. I think we were one of the only promoters in Sydney that have sold crazy bottles to a client. One of our client back in the marquee days, OPM days, they opened a $300,000 bottle of champagne.
300 grand.
Yeah. And that was like crazy. It was on the news. Everyone was talking about it. So if you can sell a 300K bottle of champagne where you can't even finish it on the night, I think we can sell other dreams to people as well.
Madness.
It's just it's a different story.
Howin, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and thank you for being so generous in your insights and sort of tips around business and marketing. If people want to enjoy the customer experience that you offer, the food that you offer, they can go to. Well, you correct me because I don't know Sydney very well, but tell them where they can go. Ni Hao Bar is where?
Ni Hao Bar is opposite World Square, which is in the CBD Haymarket. Howin Cafe, we've got 3 open for people to go in, walk-ins, which is number one will be in Chinatown Haymarket on Success Street. The second one will be at Emerald Square, Burwood. The third one will be on Rose Street in Eastwood, which will be opening in February. And I've also got a new partner that I'm doing. He's one of the best chefs in Australia, Chase Kojima, executive chef of Tokyo. He's also got a restaurant in the Gold Coast as well. And then he's got a new brand called Senpai Ramen, which I'll be involved in Burwood. So that's going to be opening in January.
That's a conversation. Here I am going down another rabbit hole. I'm about to wrap up the interview, but it is interesting how this modern Asian fusion type cuisine is also actually niching down. You know, there are dedicated cafes and restaurants now doing fried chicken, doing bubble tea, doing pho, doing ramen. You know, like they're forgetting, they're not having big menus. They're just going, you know, what do they say? A niche an inch wide and a mile deep. You haven't followed that path. Is there something in the future where you're just going to have a place selling fried chicken, or you know, or just one dish well?
Yes, I would want, because at the beginning, I think after the second lockdown, we found out that being more niche and being on point has made a lot of businesses, like, to be honest, I would love to have a bubble tea shop because it's the easiest business ever. I don't have to care about the chefs. Like that would be a really easy formula. But all my other shops, there's been headaches because of staffing. So yes, we're definitely going down the road where we will pinpoint a product. If it's going to sell well, then we're going to chop down our business model and make the menus smaller. That's definitely my franchising for Calding later on.
A conversation for another time. Howin Chui, you're a legend. Thanks for sharing and being on the Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Thank you, Timbo. Thank you.
There you go, team. Sydney restaurateur and highly creative soul, Howin Chui. If you're in Sydney, I suggest making a beeline for the Ni Hao Bar, Kowloon Cafe or Stir Fry King. I certainly will be. I love that modern Asian tucker. Hey, what about his jump across into real estate? On the surface, sounded pretty crazy, but his justification made absolute sense. Bottom line, if you want to run a fun business that your customers talk about to others, your suppliers love dealing with, and your staff love being a part of, I reckon it's time to get creative. Book some creative thinking time in your diary now. I'll certainly be making it a part of my Patreon presence. So if you join that, we will absolutely be exploring the art of being creative in business. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Howin Chui, creative restaurateur. Now, let's see who's been calling me.
Hi, Timbo. Ryan Martin here from Ryan Martin Weddings. Just wanted to say thanks for this most recent episode 612. We interviewed Jono Coghill. I thought it was really interesting because I'm in the music industry myself. I've got a small business in Northern Rivers, New South Wales. Originally, my business revolved around playing music at pubs, clubs and restaurants. So it's probably more of a hobby than anything. But now, thanks to really like niching down and pivoting a little bit based on the 80-20 rule of what's working, I've been able to leave my full-time job and focus on Ryan Martin Weddings, which offers civil marriage celebrancy and live music for wedding ceremonies and receptions. I've picked up so many tips from this podcast, but to name one which I think is really worth sharing is your big push for helpful marketing. I started writing blog articles on my website. I found it a bit tricky to get started, so I thought I'd share a little tool that I used. There's a great website called Answer the Public, which you can use to find out what people are Googling. It gives you a ton of different questions, which you can use as a stimulus to start writing your blog. If there are any other business owners out there who like the idea of a blog but just aren't sure what they should start writing about, check this tool out. Thanks again, Timbo, for continuing this fantastic podcast. My name is Ryan Martin, and you can find me at ryanmartin.com.au. Thanks. Bye.
Ryan, you're a legend, brother. Thank you so much for making the time to give the Small Business Big Marketing Hotline a buzz. I really appreciate it, and glad you have embraced helpful marketing. Everyone should embrace helpful marketing. It's helpful. Makes your customers make a more informed purchase decision, often in your favour. Nothing wrong with that. And I've taken a look at Answer the Public, Ryan. Absolutely fantastic resource, mate. And I'll put a link in the show notes, so check it out on your podcast app. But it's a really good way that will really inspire you and enable you to create much more content, as will ChatGPT, which we talk about next week. Hey, everyone else, be like Ryan and give me a buzz on 0480 015 150 and let us know what marketing is working for you at the moment. Put me in your phone, 0480 015 150. Next week, you and I are joined by world-leading SEO expert Harry Sanders, past guest. He takes us through this time the latest thinking in getting on page 1 of Google for 2023, plus we go super deep into the new AI writing software called ChatGPT. It's amazing. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the subscribe button on your podcast app. It really helps my rankings on iTunes, etc., where you'll find 618 more chats with successful business founders. A big thanks to Alex Amster for stitching the marketing gold together, and to our in-house rock star, Lockie Doley, for making the music bed. More importantly, big thanks to you, you, for tuning in. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.